Hi all, it's 6:30 sharp, and so we like our timeliness here at the Springfield Chamber of Commerce. So we're going to start right on time. I want to thank everybody for attending. And oh my gosh, all 9 of you. I know there's 10 running. 9 of you are here, so we really do appreciate you all taking the time to be here. We've actually, to be fair, the Springfield Chamber of Commerce only has been in existence since 2016. So we've only run one set of forums, and that was in 2018. But we didn't include school trustees last time because we really didn't know what we were doing. Right, Daryl? Mm-hmm. But we know what we're doing right now, right, Daryl? Mm-hmm. So we want to, tonight's a super exciting night. We're thrilled to have included this. One of the things that last night I tried to rush through the introduction because I knew we wanted to get to it. And today I started thinking this is actually really important. So I spent a little time on council in 2014 to 2018, and I didn't love it. I'm not going to lie, but I do remember thinking, Diane, you're in the room. You'll appreciate this because I know I said it to you. The only thing worse than being an RM of Springfield counselor would be being a Sunrise School Division trustee. So, congratulations. I know, ouch, right? It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. And I would say that there is a quote that I'm not going to read to you by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's called "The Man in the Arena." And it actually talks about being brave enough to step up. To step in, and you don't get to complain. You don't actually know what it's like unless you're in the arena. And every single one of you have stepped up to be in that arena, and I applaud you. And I hope your experience, I hope you all win, and I hope the experience is fantastic. The other thing I didn't do well this week as the chamber rep is I didn't thank everybody that I should have. So Daryl is our tech guy and our incoming president of the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, president of GT Holdings. And so Daryl, thank you. Courtney will be our timer tonight. And so Courtney, what is it when they see red? Red is you only have 30 seconds left. So she's going to be timing. She's the clock boss. Don't mess around. I want to thank Lene specifically as well. I kind of thanked her a little bit, but not. I think I just said, good luck, you're crazy. And what I want to say instead tonight is Lene, if she's there, she's taken every night this week to be a part of this. She is absolutely dedicated to her community. And this is not an easy job, moderating when there are 9 people that have something to say. And I'm sure the audience will be incredibly polite and respectful. But I know it hasn't always been that way this week. So Lene, thank you. Our school principal, Kevin Dell, is not here tonight, but I would like to thank Kevin specifically. He's always up for collaboration. Kevin is always up. I've worked with Kevin since probably 2014 when I started the Sunrise Coyotes Football Club. He is the guy that just always says yes. Can I do this? Sure. So it's rare to have, and we do appreciate it. I also want to say that from the Springfield Chamber perspective, we are labeling this, I'm going to say 2023. What year are we in? 2022. So 2023, we're labeling this as the year of collaboration. So I want to make sure that for every single one of you, whether you win, whether you lose, I hope you stay engaged in the community. I hope you stay engaged in the school division. And sincerely, from the perspective of the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, we want to collaborate. That's the only way we're going to get it over the goal line, football analogy. Okay, and last 2 things. I promise I'm almost done. Do any of you own businesses? All right, I've got membership forms. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else? Because there are membership forms here. We would like to see everybody a member. And also, we do have our annual dinner, and I haven't done a good job of promoting this either. So usually the annual dinner is towards the end of October. This year, it falls before the election. So you can go to springfieldcommerce.com. Am I right, Courtney? springfieldcommerce.com. You can purchase tickets. It's a great networking opportunity. And you're going to be around people in your community that will be voting, that you'll be working with eventually. So I do highly recommend it. Without further ado, I'm going away and would love to introduce Lene Gutowski. Lene, you stole my bio last night and put it in your car, and I said, no, don't bother getting it. Lene has lived in the RM of Springfield for over 40 years, grew up in Cooks Creek and Oakbank in a family that's been well immersed in business, equestrian, recreation, you name it, the Gutowskis have been there. Her resume ranges from medical administration, self-employment, which includes pizza making, entertainment, industrial retail, and she's been a project manager for the last 15 years for Boxstall. Having been brought up to continually give back to our community, she has been an active volunteer in a variety of programs, including this week of forum. We're not paying you very well, are we? Yeah, we're good. We're not paying her at all. She's a member, an award-winning speaker with Prairie Voices Toastmaster. She's on the executive member of the Oakbank Community Club. She is an executive member of the Oakbank Community Club, and she's one of the founders and co-chairs of Ad Hoc Entertainment, the fun, happy people that bring us chicken days every year. So without further ado, Lene Gutowski, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shandy. So Shandy covered a bit of what I was going to say in my welcome, but I just want to welcome all of you, and again for stepping up to the plate and putting your ear and your voice out there for Sunrise School Division, and welcome to everybody here who's engaged and part of this evening. Again, it's YouTubed tonight, so we will be able to see that likely within 24 hours. So when we go into housekeeping rules, remember you're on record forever. So anyway, this whole evening is really refreshing for me because it's the school trustees and it's around education and around our youth and our staff and our parents, and it's a different feel from the counselor forums, let me tell you. So, so welcome again, and I will let you introduce yourself a little bit later, but first we're going to start with some housekeeping rules. First of all, just in common sense and respect, if you have a cell phone, if you could put it on vibrate, or a pager, put it on silent. The emergency exits are obviously at the east door in the front. We all know the collegiate and especially you folks. In a sense of respect, we ask that there's no cheering, jeering, biting, kicking, anything like that. Oops, sorry, that was last night. Just kidding. Just kidding. Anyway. Honestly, though, in today's indelible social media, remember you're in there for history. You don't want to hear yourself on rant and rave, and I keep saying every night you don't want to see yourself in the crime report at the Clipper, right? So, rules of engagement tonight. Each one of you've had questions sent to you earlier, last week I believe, and each one of you will get the 2 minutes to respond. Courtney is going to be holding up the yellow card when there's a minute left and a red card when there's 30 seconds left. And given that there are such a full house of you today, that's just about keeping it on time and keeping it clear and concise. Other rules of engagement would be after that, we're going to be letting you pick out of a hat, and we're going to take random questions. And then at the end of the night, we'll take some questions from the audience, and we'll also let you wrap up or maybe give it closing remarks. So on that note, I do want to say, though, because I know most of you, I don't know all of you. For all of you out there, in Ward 2, we have representing us Lori Giesbrecht, Lorraine Boytson, and Paul-Philippe Larocque. Did I get that right? Is it LaRoche? Larocque, I'm right, okay. In Ward 3, we have Amanda Devian and Diane Rowland. And in Ward 4, we have Dustin Dent, Evelyn DePiro, Karen Inslee, and Melissa Rowan. And with regrets, Nikki Lynn Madsen is our 10th person that was not able to make it tonight because sincerely she had a family commitment that was planned over a year ago. So if you were to go to the Sunrise School Division website, there's a way to reach out to her by email or phone if you have any questions. Before I start, I have a stepdaughter that did go to Anola Elementary, École du Geld, and Springfield Collegiate. But she's 27 now. So I admit that I've lost touch with what's going on out there. But I know that your place is to set a direction for the division. I know that you want to establish an effective and efficient structure that will work with all the policies of the division and help formulate and adopt and inform changing, evolving practices. I know you're there to provide support, and I know that you're there to provide community leadership as advocates for children in the school division and public schools. So again, I thank the Chamber of Commerce, but especially the Sunrise School Division and the SCI for this format and for this location. So without further ado, we're going to do this in random. Okay, I've even got little numbers going, but this first question, we're literally going to start over with you, Philippe. And you're going to be number 1. So my question to you is, and now you guys will have to figure out if you can share the microphone or if you would like me to come over there with the microphone. We're just a couple short, so. Okay, thank you. So Philippe, what growing trends in education would you like to see our school division adopt? Please explain.
First off, I want to say that I found these questions very difficult, but...
Just talk closer in the microphone, thank you.
But I did come up with some answers. First off, COVID has played a large impact on education the last 2 years. So a lot of hopefully it's not a new trend with the electronic homeschooling, but it's a reality. I see the growing trends in education to be, I guess basically we reworked existing programs. For example, a STEM program, they simply added an A called STEAM, and which is an art. So it's, excuse me, science, technology, engineering, art, and music. Robotics programs throughout the division are wide use. Coding is now starting with the high school kids in terms of teaching students how to talk computer language to computers. All programs are specific based on the needs of the school population. In terms of the division, I found it difficult to actually determine how they could develop any kind of policy, so on and so forth, when everything is so specific related to each school, all based on their old population and their needs. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move to Lorraine Boyton.
First of all, I just wanted to say that I'm not an educator, so I always rely on the professionals, but I am open to new ideas, and I'm willing to support and promote concepts that enhance student learning. There are 2 educational trends that I would like to see our school division adapt if they don't already have them. The first one is social, mental, and emotional health and self-care. Some effects of the pandemic have increased anxiety and depression. Students need to know that they will be supported in their needs and feelings and should have access to counselors and therapists. So I'd like to make sure that students know that the support is out there if they need it. The next is digital citizenship. Students are turning to the internet for games, YouTube, information of all kinds, and they need to learn to use the internet safely and be aware of the dangers. They need to learn to be a good digital citizen. They need to balance media in their day and to look at the impact it has on their lives. Are they giving up time to spend with their friends or participate in physical activities for spending time playing video games? They have to learn to protect their personal and private information and especially to respect other digital citizens. And then there's one educational trend that I would be interested in exploring. It is bite-sized learning. Children have short attention spans, and educators are finding that teaching topics in shorter pieces at a time helps to keep students focused. Businesses are using this method for training, so I would like to know what educators feel about this method of learning.
Thank you. And then last for Ward 2, we'll move to Lori Giesbrecht.
There we go. Okay, so are we on? Yes, okay. So Lorraine kind of took the words out of my mouth for the social emotional learning. That was definitely one of mine. I think, kind of like Paul, had mentioned about COVID kind of running rampant for everybody. I feel like our kids just are struggling, and not just them, but the people around them are struggling, and to have that knowledge and understanding of how to care for those around you and how to take care of yourself when you're feeling those big emotions, we'll say. I'm in preschool, so that's the one thing that we use is, they're having big feelings or big emotions, would definitely benefit, I think, the kids in our communities and in our division. So I won't touch too much on that one because Lorraine kind of already did. And then, but the other one that I'm very passionate about would be the Genius Hour, which is basically allowing kids a certain amount of time. I see somebody that got very excited. The kids to learn about what they're passionate about. Instead of saying, you have to learn this, this, and this, they get a set time. They still have to do a proposal. There has to be guidelines for them to do with, but it gives them the chance to kind of go and create and explore what they're interested in within means, of course, with the student or with the educators and staff as well. So those would be my two that I would be strongly for.
Thank you. And I'm going to repeat that question just as we go down the road here before we go to Ward 3. Again, the question is, what growing trends in education would you like to see our school division adopt? Please explain, and we'll move to Amanda Devian.
Good evening. Hello. I find the responses so far very interesting because my take on this question was completely different. When I read the question, I thought it was about teaching practices. And I sat back and I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, as a board of trustee, it's not my job to tell teachers how to teach. They have the curriculum from the government, and it's their autonomy to be able to teach that curriculum in a way that they see fit for themselves, because we each teach differently. I have a background of 6 years of education, and we need to be able to mold our content, our curriculum, in a way that is suited for the children in front of us, as well as for us ourselves. Having said that, it allows the teachers the autonomy to critically think, and that's sort of where this Genius Hour is coming in. I have seen this working really well in that students have a better understanding and a better intake as to buy-in as to what they are learning. So yes, there's a curriculum, but if I can involve my students and be on board with them to say, okay, well, we need to learn the solar system, how are we going to learn it? And they come up with their own ideas as to how they're going to learn it and how they're going to be assessed for it, that is so much larger than just delivering the information. So that would be maybe one area that I'm passionate on, is that critical thinking, problem solving area. But in the end, as a board of trustee, we have people in our division who are already in place as leaders for certain subject areas, and they're doing a great job. So let them do their job and bring those great ideas to the teachers at the front line.
Thank you. Diane Ruland.
Sorry. So of course, there has been a trend for mental health supports and increased need for supports in all schools and workplaces and society in general. So we have had a focus on, and actually we do have a very strong student support department and area in our school division. We're very fortunate that we have a lot of funding and personnel dedicated already currently for student supports, and that had been increasing over COVID. But the growing trends that I see in education that I'd like to see adopt would be an addition to it, or an extension of what Amanda was saying, was our critical thinking. Historically, in the last few years, our priority has been literacy and numeracy, and trying to work on bringing up results, as in history. Pre-COVID, they used to talk about our Manitoba standard of education and achievements compared to the rest of the country. And Manitoba was not on the top of that list. So our priority for the board had been numeracy and literacy and trying to improve those outcomes for students. So I would like to see, in addition to continuing with that, critical thinking and problem solving, which is something that has been going on in schools that I can see it develop. And another aspect of education as a trend would be our natural-based education, where we have students outdoors. They have opportunities to build relationships with land, one another, themselves, usually directed to K-6, and usually child-directed, play and inquiry-based learning. This happens outdoors. This approach leads to increased focus and attention in students usually, and imagination, creativity is increased, better motor skills, reduced stress, and improved social skills, which is something that has shown to be a need for post-pandemic students. And an example of that would be our Dougal outdoor classroom, and we could use more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, we'll move to Ward 4. Do you want me to repeat the question? You're good, you've had it rehearsed. Okay, Melissa Rowan.
I would like to see Sunrise School Division offering more programming. Currently, we're losing high school students to Selkirk High School, Murdoch McKay, Miles Mac Collegiate, and CPET because they're looking for things that we're not offering. If we were able to offer more vocational programs to students, we might be able to retain those students within our school division, which would then bring that provincial funding that follows those students back to our school division. It might also result in lower transportation fees. I realize that offering additional vocational programming comes with additional costs, which is why I think it's important that we build a strong relationship with the Minister of Education and the province so that we're able to lobby for more funding. Another trend that we're seeing here in Springfield is community growth. The number of students entering our schools is increasing on an annual basis. Now is the time that we need to start looking at expanding our schools, whether that means in addition to our current schools or new builds so that we have 2 elementary schools or whatever school level that we need it in. These type of things take time, so to meet the needs of our future students, we need to start now.
Thank you. We'll move to Evelyn DePiro.
Hello. So for those that don't know, October is Disability Awareness Month. So one thing that I would like to see the division focus on more, they already do focus on it, but just on our mental health services. More and more children have diagnoses that affect their learning, whether it be mental health diagnoses or learning difficulties, and lots of children have IEPs in place. So just to build on this support would be something that I would think would be a huge benefit for our community and our schools. And also, same as what Melissa had mentioned about trade school and vocational training, we currently do bus a lot of kids out of the division for this training, and it would be great to invest in this for our own division to keep our students here. And also, there's a big gap in this province for skilled trades, so it would be really great if we could train our own students for these positions and fill the gaps in our own area for our own businesses.
Thank you. We'll move to Karen Inslee.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yep. Critical thinking seems to be quite a popular topic across the trustees, and I would like to see our kids become critical thinkers and to develop their life skills, such as knowing how to manage their time, their finances, their relationships, setting them up for a healthy future for their chosen career. I'm a freelance mental health educator and counsellor, and healthy minds and strong mental health are critical to being a critical thinker. And over the last 2 years, as has been pointed out, mental health and emotional wellness has declined across all populations, but the government has been expanding its opportunities and programming and their support to those who need it. And so my goal would be to support the mental health programming so that it supports healthy minds, which will develop critical thinkers. And although having mental health support is great, especially when you currently need it, as a mental health educator, sorry, I'm not looking at you, Courtney. As a mental health educator, I'm always being proactive, not reactive. So helping kids to recognize the triggers that cause the mental health and emotional wellness to decline. So having programs that will help to be proactive and reactive and support government funding when it comes to mental health programming.
Thank you. And Dustin Dent.
Challenging sometimes when you're last out of 9, so a lot of the ideas have already been kind of spoken about. I'd like to see our school division to not only focus on student academics but student wellness, which was already mentioned. Getting clinical support into the school to assist students with coping provides the student with not only a better view of self but will result in stronger academic output. I would like the division to expand vocational programming, so offering classes such as woodworking, power mechanics, auto body, welding, cosmetology would provide other avenues for kids to diversify their learning. I believe the division needs to become more flexible with how that they offer their learning. Having been immersed in a pandemic for 2.5 years has shown that we can provide education utilizing various technologies. Students should be able to transition from in and out of the classroom to a remote learning and then back into the classroom seamlessly as needed, if needed. So this is a little bit different than what's happening. I see you, Courtney. This is a little bit different than what's happening right now, which is you need to make that declaration at the beginning of the school year. And lastly, I was thinking that we need to reintroduce learning around truth and reconciliation by reinstating a program leader for Indigenous academic achievement. This will ensure our school division is working together with our communities towards the 94 calls to action of honoring the truth and reconciling the future. This person would also continue to teach land-based learning using the land as a teacher. Thanks again.
Thank you, Destin. One of the questions I was going to ask right off the bat, kind of put you on the spot, was why? Tell us a little bit about yourself, but why? But you know what? As I sat here and listened to the 9 responses, we know why. You have a commitment to being an ear and a voice as a school trustee candidate. So we're going to start from the opposite end. Dustin, to your note, okay. We're going to go that way. So my next question, we'll start with Ward 4 here, Dustin, is what role do you see the school division playing in extracurricular activities and recreation?
Me again. Yeah, an important role, of course. So I think firstly, we need to reinstate the music coordinator position and the art speak position coordinators. So we have a thriving band and music program that is well known throughout the province, that our kids are excelling in, which are not only providing the same overall supports, they're not being provided the same overall supports this year, as the music coordinator position was cut. This position is vital for the band directors to get instruments, to get timely music, to get all their equipment when needed, so that we can hear those great performances at Christmas, year-end. The Art Speak coordinator facilitators, those are the theatrical performances, so such as arts into the school. Developing partnerships with community programs like The Space will not only strengthen and bolster both programs, but will allow students, again, to self-actualize.
Thank you. And then Karen.
I've been going across the line where we're going to all have similar thoughts on this because I think that we do offer a lot of extracurricular activities and recreation, and as Dustin said, the Art Speak and band are exceptional programs, something that we really need to build on, as well as obviously physical fitness, recreation programs, activities. And my advice primarily is to ensure that the parents are communicating with their children and ask them what they would like to be participating in and what activities that they are migrating to. And also for parents to communicate and the division to communicate that it's okay not to be participating or to change your mind if you want to change the direction that you're going in. Because professionally I see that you can't motivate somebody to do something that they don't want to do. And it's key for a program to be successful that you've got total engagement. I would also like us to look at what other school divisions are doing, what's happening in the private sector in your community. Look at what's working, look at what's not working, what's popular, what's not popular, and collaborate on ways that you can expand and improve on what you're currently doing. And again, ensuring that you get your child's feedback on what's important to them and what they find exciting and engaging.
Thank you, Karen. Evelyn.
Okay. I believe the division can and should play a huge role in extracurricular activities and recreation. We have the facilities already in place, and it would just be a huge benefit to use these same facilities in the evenings and weekends when there's no school. It's also very central. We know how to get there, and there's lots of examples of them already being used by community groups and things like that. And so it'd be nice to see, you know, the gyms being used every evening on the weekends, the band rooms. It would be really great to just use what we already have more. So I think they play a huge role.
Thank you. And Melissa?
Extracurriculars are such an important part of learning, as students learn different skills than they would learn from inside the classroom or at home. I know that our teachers are already volunteering a lot of their time for some of the amazing programs that we already have going on, and I commend them for that. I would like to work with the teachers to find out how we can support them while also supporting the needs for extracurriculars and recreation. For example, esports is a fast-growing trend, but our schools don't have the funding or the support for these programs, and gaming computers are expensive. If we can develop a strong working relationship with the Minister of Education in the province of Manitoba, we may be able to lobby for more funding to support these programs. While this may just seem like video games, there are lots of opportunities for full-ride scholarships to universities and colleges, and people are making full-time livings thanks to esports. I also think that the Oakbank schools are in a unique position with where they are located. Because they're all so close to each other, we could look at developing a mentorship program, if you were to think something along the lines of Big Brothers, Big Sisters. With all three levels of schools being so close, it would be a lot easier. This could work as a recreation program and help alleviate some of the stresses to families around after-school childcare. Students could create and run programming after school and have these hours be used towards high school credits.
Thank you, Melissa. We'll move to Amanda, or no, sorry, in order, Diane, sorry.
Thank you. So yes, schools do play a vital role in facilitating and encouraging kids to be involved with physical activities. Schools have the space, equipment, and knowledge to provide opportunities and coaching to children, and of course, exercise and movement are critical for good health. Schools currently do offer extracurricular and intramural activities and try to engage children in a variety of sports and activities that intramural ones are held during the day, so are more accessible for children. They're already at the school, and extracurricular sports that children become involved with. The school pays fees, provides equipment, uniforms, and tries to encourage involvement in as many sports as can be accommodated there, based on student enrollment and other factors. Investments in the school grounds benefit the whole community. When we build basketball courts and a shelter and improve our fields, it is a community gift for everyone to use after school hours. People come to there with their children. Sports leagues in Springfield, like the baseball and soccer, do practices there, use the facilities. Basketball courts are used by children in the evenings, so an investment in the school grounds is a real benefit for the whole community. And of course, schools currently do allow community use of schools, so after hours, people do use the schools for crafting shows, pickleball league, whatnot, and it is encouraged, and the school provides clean facilities and that, and I would like to see more and more of that. We try to fit everybody in and open to people coming forward and making requests, and also requests for other programs. I would like to see people come and engage with the board and give ideas and suggestions on what type of programming they would like to see in the schools. We are trying to represent everybody's wishes, so talk to trustees, talk to the admin, and we can always expand programming if it's brought forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Amanda.
Okay, Dustin, I'm not picking on you, but I appreciate your thoughts, because again, I came to this question with a totally different perspective as a phys ed specialist. So you're doing more of the arts and music. I was thinking, as soon as I read this, I was thinking after-school activities, extracurricular sports, our inter-school divisional meets and all of that. I was not even thinking arts. So I want to thank you for bringing that to the discussion, and that is one of the reasons that I look forward to possibly being on the board, is to be able to bring a unique opinion and a different idea to the board. That was an aside, I apologize. So now getting to the question. The division already has a policy in place for using its space, And I breezed through it, and it's an interesting policy because it does put our extracurriculars, our students first, which in my opinion should be the primary thing, is our students. And then, as somebody had mentioned down the road, holy cow, as somebody already mentioned down the table here, is that teachers have a lot to do with it, but as do the parents and the community members. Like, I'm not sure how many people know this, but even if we have 2 parents coaching a volleyball team, we still need a teacher or some sort of staff member in the building to supervise. So that's a lot of time that our teachers are putting in on their extra time, and we need to acknowledge that. I think it's incredibly important, and it ties with the RM, which is another question coming up. These are very interconnected questions for me. I think we can make some ties with the RM and make sure that we are reaching our entire community base, not just our students, maybe our seniors, maybe our, who knows, anybody. But like Diane said, we just need to talk. We need to talk, and we need to find out each other's needs and then try and answer as many as we can and be there for them.
Thank you. Lorraine. Oh, Lori, sorry.
Okay.
Out of order again. Sorry. Lori, sorry.
Okay, so I was along the same mindset of Dustin when I came to this question. I have 2 girls in school. I know that all the intermediate, they go to Beaujeu for soccer tournaments. They have handball tournaments in SCI. They do all that kind of stuff. So my thought was to try and bring in more activities such as the STEM or STEAM activities, coding, robotics. Also, something that's been big with the youth of today is the board games. Not necessarily like Sorry and Shoots and Ladders, but the D&D and all those kind of things. So I think having that opportunity to explore those for those kids, and I think, yes, our staff and our teachers are, they do a great amount already, but if you were to find staff that are passionate about some of these things, it would be easier to get the kids involved and as passionate, because I feel like if you have passion for something, that automatically gets people interested in, because somebody that's going, oh, you know, this is a board game and whatever, but are like, have you seen what this can do? Like, did you know that this is the games that you can play and this is so awesome? So I definitely feel that putting passion into those extracurricular activities would boost everything for everyone. And that's my take on that.
Thank you. Lorraine.
Okay, and I saw this question a little bit different than everybody else. So presently, there are allowances for extracurricular activities, and they're written in the Sunrise Teachers Association Collective Agreement, which was negotiated with a board of trustees at some point, where they would receive a half-day paid leave for every 24 hours, as well as mileage and meal allowances. So the Sunrise School Division has played an active supportive role in extracurricular activities. The agreement expired, however, on June 30th of 2022, and teachers' contracts will now be provincially bargained. So I'm hoping this article will remain in there so that teachers will have the incentive to carry on with extracurricular activities. If for some reason this article does not get renegotiated into contracts, I would support some kind of allowance for teachers willing to participate in providing social, recreational, cultural, athletic opportunities for students. Extracurricular activities create teamwork, reduce peer pressure issues, help students become more social, and build self-esteem. It also builds and strengthens relationships with teachers. When I was in junior high in grade 7, my homeroom teacher was Mr. Stamler. He was a good teacher, he was okay, but in grade 8 he headed the yearbook committee, which was an extracurricular activity done during lunch breaks and after school. I was the co-editor of the yearbook that year and really bonded with Mr. Stamler. I had completely new respect for him, and he became one of my favorite teachers. So they have a lot of benefit.
Thank you. And Paul.
Presently, there are many activities falling under the umbrella of extracurricular activities. From the arts, athletics, choir, band, mental health, and more happening throughout the division, with each school planning their own activities based on school population and interest. I see the division, as it already does, continue playing a role, developing policy as needed, for example, with out-of-province or out-of-city travel, and extend it. I would also like to see the program leader for physical education reinstated, whether it be a half-time or full-time position, specifically for the programs of physical education in the classroom so that there's consistency across the division, and part of the umbrella being the extracurricular activities that occur mainly at lunchtime. Thank you.
Thank you. For this last question, we're going to start with Ward 3. So we'll start over here with you, Melissa. Oh, sorry, you're Ward 4. It's Diane. What's that? No, we actually, you know what, for timing, and didn't tell you this to keep it on your, keep you on your feet, because 9 of them, and we also didn't tell you which ones we were going to ask of those 5. So our third question tonight, and again, there's a lot of you, and I think that's a great thing, but we'll start with Ward 3, and we'll start over here with Diane. Are there any ways in which the school division and the RM could work collaboratively? Please explain.
I love this question. Thank you. Yes, of course, we can work together. I would love to see us have improved collaboration and communication with the RM. It would be great for the greater good of the community. We both are accountable to the residents, taxpayers, and we could collaboratively work together to get more bang for the buck. An example where we actually were able to work with the RM was to solve the community issue at the Dougal Daycare. The province was responsible for developing the daycare on the school grounds, and in their wisdom had not provided enough parking space for staff, and it was becoming a problem as staff and parents were parking all down the street. The area residents had contacted the RM. They also contacted the school board about issues about safety and children in cars and all this. So we did recently approve the parking lot expansion, and we're able to bring the RM on board to have a cost sharing and oversight on that, so we can fix that area for the residents there. So it's an example of collaboration that we reached out to them and do that. What more could we do? We could work together to ensure possibly our bus pickup sites would be safer, our sidewalks, or having areas that kids can stand in Oak Bank and high density areas, children grouped together on corners for pickups. And sometimes it's a little bit crowded and there's not a place for them to stand that isn't in a ditch, so we could work with better sites for transportation. Also, I'd like to see our RMs provide free or reduced fees for school sport teams using facilities. Example, the hockey teams that have to rent ice for practice and games, and other RMs as well, have to pay for the usage of that, and it's great cost to the school and also parents, so maybe there could be some work to cost share or reduce costs. And high school students can receive credits for volunteering, and I would love for the RM to help identify and possibly solicit volunteers for opportunities within the RM to help kids find opportunities to get that volunteer credit, and even for work placement opportunities. It would be great if the area businesses, community would be open to having students and maybe solicit them to come and do job training with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda.
So when I initially looked at this question, I was thinking, okay, well, it'd be really cool to get business owners from the chamber to come in and talk to our students and tell them what options there are out there, as opposed to just doing the university route or the college route, or likewise having students go out and help volunteer with festivals that the RM is putting on. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is operational. This is not where my position would be. That falls under the area of the actual administrators. So then I had to rethink what was going on here and think a little bit further and look at more bigger picture ideas. And the one thing that came to mind is our Dugald pool that is going to be coming into play. Hopefully it's breaking ground in the next little bit. It would be amazing to get some swimming lessons incorporated into our student body a little bit. So that would be something I would love to bring into conversation with the RM, is how can we bring students to you for swimming lessons throughout the day, and look at that financially and see if that would work, because drowning is one of the major causes of death in our world that we live in. So to get our kids that in our athletics would be amazing. Beyond that, we already do a good intertwining of using each other's facilities, as Diane had already mentioned. Well, and even the community coming to use our school's facilities after hours, the playgrounds, and then us being able to use theirs. So if we could make that, what am I thinking here? If we could somehow streamline that relationship to make it easier and more lucrative financially and cost savings for both sides, I think would be beneficial.
Thank you. We're going to go to the far end over there for that same question. Paul? Ward 2.
Now, as has been said, there's a lot happening within the division right now, presently with the municipality and with the schools. I kind of took more of a look from my student services profile that I had done with the school division. I'd like to see a continuation of existing programs such as the Connect and Learn Early Childhood Readiness Assessment of pre-kindergarten children. It's a valuable program that prepares the parents with information and prepares the teachers with information on the upcoming students. I would like to see the continuation of the Bright Beginnings program that focuses on the strengths of the community, the resources to enhance programs and services for families and children. I would like to explore the feasibility of the development of a community hub program, which runs in other parts of the world, Australia, for example. And basically, a community hub program is being a program based in the schools of the community with shared resources from the community, your social workers, your psychologists, or from the schools, and so on. And the idea is that it's for the mental health issues that are arising so that services can be easily accessed by families within a lot of communities. It's fine, for example, here, because you can zip off to the city, you're fairly close. But if you're out farther, in some of the rural schools, it's not so easy. And so a lot of the people who need these services don't have the resources a lot of time to get them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Lorraine?
After the meeting yesterday, I had to redo this question. Sunrise should be working collaboratively with all the towns and arms within their division. When I was in my second term as school trustee, we were invited by, I believe it was the town of Beausejour and the arm of Brokenhead to meet with them. We welcomed the invite and realized that getting together with all the RMs in our division would be beneficial. I assume this practice continued. However, at the Ward 3 and 4 councillor candidate forum last night, I was extremely disappointed to find out that this is not happening and that the RM of Springfield was actually denied by Sunrise to meet. So whether that's true or not, that's what was said at the meeting last night. We do need to work together. We share common goals, community, concerns, and future plans and interests. One example would be growth in our communities. How will developments in our community affect our schools? What type of development is planned? If it's a 55 plus, we probably have no concerns. But if it's young families coming in, we need to know this in advance. I believe there's true value in meeting with our RMs and towns, and Sunrise should definitely pursue this relationship, whether it's quarterly meetings or trustees from the area attending board meetings at least once a month and reporting back to the board, but some kind of relationship definitely needs to be established.
Thank you. And Lori?
This one was, for me, pretty easy. A lot of the other candidates have already voiced their opinions on needing more vocational training within our schools, in our division. And my idea right away went, well, we have all of these different businesses in our RM. Why not advocate for our students to do vocational training, on-the-job training in these businesses? So if there was an incentive from the RM to enhance that ability and that collaboration between the businesses of the RM, everyone right now is complaining about being understaffed. I don't have the people, the manpower, I don't have this, I don't have that. But if you had students that want to learn that business, imagine the possibilities that could happen there. I know obviously students aren't going to be able to run a grader. They're not going to be able to, do welding right off the hop kind of thing. But I feel like just having and being immersed in a sector that you are interested in, then you're going to gain those skills. You're going to learn that. And I mean, coming out of high school and wanting to get a job, or even being in high school and wanting to get a job, everybody says, well, you need experience, you need experience. This provides our upcoming generations with those experiences that everybody is wanting them to have right now. So why not get them in while we can, offering those vocational opportunities for our students, and we can absolutely collaborate that way and make it easier for everybody, and we don't have to send them outside of the division for that training.
Thank you. So I'm going to repeat the question again for Ward 4, because we did mix things up and you didn't realize we were going to take out 2 questions for timing, but the question was, are there any ways in which the school division and the RM could work collaboratively? Please explain, and we'll start with Dustin.
Thank you. So similar to what's been said, I think we need to look at dual purposing some existing facilities that we have already. When I moved into this community about 14 years ago, Jim McCarthy was the Reeve, and he did a Field of Dreams study. And I was really excited because at that point in time, I was starting to establish my own family, and I thought, isn't this fantastic? A soccer pitch, all these kind of sports and recreational facilities, which we talked about just a question earlier about how important it was or is. But then, as Jim did not get reelected, kind of those visions and dreams seem to have subsided. So I'd like to work with the RM in collaborating in developing that here. We have the space already. It was just mentioned earlier in Shandy's introduction about the Springfield Coyotes team. We have 2 football teams here. The high school team apparently is one of the top 10 in the country for its size of school. So shout out to them. So if we can expand on that, where it's multi-use facilities for them. I've coached Courtney. I've coached baseball here as well. So right, I'm talking about football. Time doesn't apply. So I'll talk quickly. So offsite learning experiences, so like at an RM garage or work site, I think would be complementary and a way to expand our vocational programming, which we've already discussed a little bit tonight. I'm talking fast. I also wanted to thank Amanda and Lori for their kind words earlier, and I'm going to pay that forward to Lorraine. So Lorraine and I were talking last week. She's got a big grin. We were talking about there being need for an ag program here. And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, Oakbank identifies itself as a farming community. I've lived in several farming communities, and none of them had any sort of ag program. And not being a farmer or anybody that's lived on a farm, I was thinking to myself, well, wouldn't that be a neat concept? And I was doing some research, calling some schools, and they didn't have one either. And I was thinking, sometimes we become a little bit hesitant putting ourselves out there, and because the program might not go. But it's okay to be first. And I think, to develop something like that, how does it bleed back into the program? Into the community. It helps us bolster maybe some of the parks that we have, the trees, the greenery, community gardens, things like that. So it's kind of to bridge the gap, because our kids don't know where our food comes from all the time. So I think that would be an important initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen.
Thank you. As a current trustee, we have the opportunity at least once a month to attend Northeastern regional forums, which are facilitated by municipalities, which invite elected officials from the school divisions from all of the wards to meet up, and they will put together an agenda and they will share information on what's happening in their municipality. And I was thinking this question as it relates to wards 2, 3 and 4, that we could collaborate and work more with the RM of Springfield and hold similar forums. Once a month might be too frequent, but it depends on what information there is to share. So going back to that question on recreation, if us as Springfield trustees actually met as elected officials with our RM and councillors, we could give them information on what our students require with regard to maybe the extracurricular activities. And the RM might be sharing with us, hey, we've finally got the go-ahead for the swimming pool, or we've got these recreational facilities actually being developed and they're actually going ahead now. So I think it would be really good for us to have something along the lines of the Northeastern Regional Forum, where each municipality meets with their ward elected officials. So Whitemouth, Lac du Bonnet, Brokenhead, they would meet with their individual municipalities to discuss what's going on in their community and work collaborative together to make the facilities work for both sides. Thank you.
Thank you. Evelyn.
Okay. When I read this question, my mind immediately went to recreation. And so I know the RM does use school facilities already for some of their programming. My kids have taken cooking classes at SMS over the years. The Coyotes football uses the fields at SMS. You know, I've seen baseball practices at the schools already. So I know just expanding on that a little bit more would be great. And also for the building on the trade school, somebody already said down there too, just with the apprentices and the work experience, it'd be really great to work with the RM businesses and just the RM in general as well to be able to do apprentices for these high school kids and trade schools.
Thank you. And Melissa?
I believe that there are opportunities for the school division and the RM to work together as well. Diana actually mentioned two of them that I had highlighted here. I think that I'd like to see a partnership with the RM and the high school for the credit for employment, the career development internship, and the community service initiated project. Those are all ways that high school students can earn credit. Some of the ways that I believe we could work collaboratively would be working on local beautification projects and the summer camp that the RM provides. Additionally, I'd like to see the school work together with the RM to utilize spaces within the community that are perhaps underused during the school day. It would be fantastic if the schools could be utilizing the indoor soccer fields and the track when the new community center is built.
Thank you. So we've come to that part of our evening now where we're going to send you some random questions, and we're going to start again over at the other end with you, Paul. You pick a question, and each one of you will get a different question. So this is going to keep you on your feet, right? Paul, so you will again have 2 minutes. I'll read the question, and it will not go back into the hat. Thank you. All right, Paul's question is, before you share a statement, either verbally or online, how do you ensure that you are sharing facts? Give an example of receiving incorrect information and how you would adjust.
Of course, I think I got the toughest one. I guess when I look at this question, I look at my experience as a student services individual for the school division, which I guess in my student services capacity, I found that dealing with an individual one-on-one really was not an issue. The issue is a lot of times when you throw a parent in to a situation, and they become the issue also. So a lot of times what I had to do was to stop what I was doing with that individual at the time, and then I had to find other sources from other professionals that I did work with. And that's where I would have found, I guess, I don't want to say the truth versus a lie, but a more pertinent position of reality that the person, in this case a parent, didn't have of their student. And here we're talking little older students also, not just younger ones. So hopefully I've answered it.
These are designed to make you think on your feet. All right. Lorraine. Lorraine's question is, have you ever engaged in negative social media or disparaging others on social media? Please elaborate.
No. I'm not on social media. My kids keep saying, Mom, we have to get you on Facebook. I've heard about different scenarios where people are on Facebook and conversations go back and forth and they go from negative to more negative. And I think a lot of it is misinterpreted. Pick up the phone. Phone me. I love to hear a person's voice. I like to hear the tone in their voice. I like to talk to them. I think we've just forgotten about all of that. And like I say, I've heard of scenarios recently. I volunteer on the Beausejour Double B Agricultural Festival Committee, and we had an issue that went on because somebody wanted to be a vendor, and then we started getting bashed on Facebook because we weren't allowing them to be a vendor, and all we wanted them to do was give us their not-for-profit papers so we wouldn't charge them. It became a huge fiasco, you know, and then we had to respond because they were bashing us and calling us names and saying we're being unfair, and it's like, no, just give us your information. Till finally somebody said, well, we'll pay your vendorship so you can just go in as a vendor. It's like, well, that didn't really solve the problem. So I'm not on Facebook. Maybe I will be one day when I have more time. But right now, I just like to talk to people.
Thank you. Lori. Lori's question is, highlight your understanding of chain of command in the workplace and how, if elected, you will apply it to your own position.
Okay, so anybody that knows me knows that I used to struggle with this actually quite a bit. I have strong opinions, and I want my voice to be heard, and I want those, not just for me, but for those around me. Which is why I think that this would be a good position for me. I did struggle with the chain of command. I thought, this is what I want, so this is how I'm going to make it happen. It didn't matter who was kind of standing in my way until I became a supervisor and actually had to be part of that chain of command. And now, to me, I understand why it's in place. I understand that you have to go through certain channels. And sometimes it's not always fun to have those channels to go through, but it's a necessary step if you want the results that you want. Because you can go straight to the top and then be told, well, guess what? You missed this, this, and this, so it's not going to happen for you. And then you have to look foolish and eat your humble pie, and that's not so fun. So I definitely feel like now I have a much better understanding of it, and I'm willing to take the steps that it needs to take to get me where I want to go without jumping over anybody like that.
Thank you. Amanda. Your question is, what is the most useful criticism that you have ever received, and how was it useful?
This is a hard question because I've had a lot. Think of a specific one. I would have to say it was work-related when I was employed at the U of M as the aquatic coordinator. I did that job for 12 years under the Mini U umbrella. And my supervisor under a annual performance review had some very pointed comments. It was a rough year for me for multiple reasons. And it was great because as much as it hurt to see it in writing going onto my file, deep down I knew it was true, and I grew from it. And I had a great relationship with this supervisor, so we always had an open conversation. And like getting into the chain of command thing, we had differing opinions, but we were able to hear one another out, and we were able to possibly even change either one of our perceptions of what the situation was. So in all, I thrive on constructive criticism because that's how I grow, and that's how I think we all need to understand one another and grow. And I'm open to it. Like, I'm the first person to eat my humble pie when I screw up. I'm like, oh, I messed up. I'm sorry. How do I fix this? And that's who I am.
Thank you. Diane.
Poor Dustin's going to have a last one.
I'm not going to get a choice here.
No.
Maybe we'll mix that up for you. Diane's question. Name one characteristic that you think every local leader should possess and explain why.
Characteristic that every leader should possess is the ability to authentically listen, because Many people will be coming to you or have come to you, and they have a lot of passion and emotion, often in the issues that they would be coming to you for or want to discuss. And in those moments, lots of things are said that are just around the true issue, and as a leader, you need to stay calm and listen authentically to hear what the critical issue is, and put aside the emotions that they're projecting at you. And once you listen authentically to them, hopefully you would be able to whittle it down to what is really the bother, and could come to a solution. You can't come to a proper solution if you're not really authentically hearing what the critical issue is. And often, like I say, in these situations, there's a lot of emotion, and you have to not mirror that or let that escalate, or let your own emotions get involved with that. Try to stay calm and be a good listener so you can hear what's at heart.
Thank you. And yes, Dustin, you will be last, but they're all different questions, so it doesn't matter. Let's see, your question is, share your thoughts on why people are hesitant to run for public office. In your opinion, is it a problem or not?
I think that people are hesitant to run for public office because it's a lot of putting yourself out there. You're putting your thoughts and your ideas out there, and everybody has their own opinion, and your opinions are not going to always line up with everybody else's. So you're going to have to find a way to listen to their opinions and try and find a middle ground. And as far as whether it's a problem or not, it kind of is, because there's lots of people up here tonight, but that hasn't always been the case. So I think it's fantastic that there's all of us up here tonight, but it would be nice if there was lots of options up here every year.
Thank you. And we'll move to Amanda. Oh, sorry. Evelyn, sorry. Two of you are switched from my plan.
Really?
Yeah. All right, your question is, Springfield has an incredibly diverse population. Is there anything that local leaders can do to unite our community, or is a united front important?
Well, I definitely think a united front is important. Somebody had already mentioned, maybe it was Dustin, about the Indigenous and the reconciliation, stuff like that. So I think, it would be nice to bring things like that in so everybody can learn about that and just learn from those people's perspective of what their issues in life are compared to ours. And yeah, there's lots of immigrants here now. There's people coming from Ukraine. There's lots of people. So yeah, it'd be great that, if we can do things to unite the population, and maybe something that local leaders can do is like a local folklorama or something like that, where, every people's background can be highlighted that way.
Thank you. Karen, and see, there's quite a few left, so it wasn't like Dustin's going to be left with one.
I was feeling under pressure that I'd leave him with the worst question.
Okay, Karen, if you could change one thing about your personality, what would it be? Please explain.
I'll give you my husband's phone number and then you can ask him. That's a difficult question because we're all individual and our own unique personality makes us who we are. I already mentioned that I'm a freelance mental health educator and counselor. So I work with a lot of mental health problems, and one of the things that I guess from a professional perspective with that is that it's difficult not to absorb your clients' problems and for their stresses to become yours, and so it's really hard to compartmentalize the two sides of it. And I guess I wouldn't change that because I do actually tend to wear my heart on my sleeve for anybody that does know me. So I'm very empathetic, very personal. I will share information about myself to those like close friends, but I wouldn't change the fact that I wear my heart on my sleeve and that I do take on my clients' problems, because I find that that actually helps me to understand them better and to help them better. But it is something that's a challenge to me, because when you're absorbing your clients' problems, it can affect you on an emotional and physical level too.
Thank you. Last but not least. And your question is, what do you see as the biggest social challenge facing Springfield?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question, the social challenge.
It's a stumper. We saw over the week a couple of different takes on that.
Okay. I think is that to be maybe a part of the community, or I think if I'm thinking of social, I mean, I'm thinking a little bit of the pandemic in the last, as mentioned earlier, and how, I mean, we are social beings, and how critical and important that is to us in our personal life and growth and development. Most of us, I think, felt a little bit, treacherous at times, just kind of being confined to our own place. So if I'm reading that correctly or interpreting the question correctly, the biggest social challenge, I think, is just getting out and supporting each other. So I think that's, again, many of my fellow candidates had expressed this earlier, as well as myself, is just networking with people. We all have needs. We all have skills too to offer, and gifts to offer others. So I think it's just getting the message out there. I did hear a little bit that, well, if we can get the head of this person and we can meet annually, quarterly, or that kind of stuff, I don't think that's always necessary. I think similar to what's also been said by others is you just pick up the phone and call people. I don't think you have to wait. You just call. I mean, for some of my campaign, it was calling people already at the school. I've talked to many admin folk already, many teachers, just networking, many parents, canvassing door to door. It's just getting out there. Sometimes we don't necessarily need an official form, though also great and a good tool. I think it's just getting out there, seeing what other people's needs are, and marrying those needs with the gifts that already exist in the community.
Thank you, Dustin. So at this point in the evening, I invite anybody who has a question for one of the candidates. We can take some time for a couple of them to answer if they choose, but if you have a specific question out there, we're going to ask you to step up to the microphone. Please, Lorraine.
Good evening. Is it on? Yes. Okay. First of all, just like everyone else, I really want you to understand that I so respect that you have stepped up for public service. And I get that, and it has been mentioned before. So I'm going to assume, because we didn't do little intros, but what I've heard is that each one of you wants to look at improvement for the education system. So I have a few facts to share with you first, just to put into context my question to you. And I think my first question...
Okay, so we are timed.
Okay.
So we are trying to keep this to one specific question.
So you have approximately a division that's been around for 20 years. We have 4,700 in 20 years ago. We have 4,600 now, and you have a $43 million difference in your budget, $43 million more. So I guess I would ask that in the context of improving educational outcomes for students and building public trust in the public education system, Will focusing on student assessment followed by action be a priority for you as a sitting trustee? Yes or no?
Thank you. Would anybody like to step up to answer that question?
In the context of improving educational outcomes for students and building public trust in the public education system, will focusing on student assessment followed by action be a priority for you as a sitting trustee?
Just a yes or no. Oh, okay. Well, then, yes, of course. Academic is important.
Definite yes.
And I have a follow-up.
Okay, we're allowing one question, so.
Okay, I'll catch you later.
You're certainly welcome to reach out to any one of these candidates from any one of these zones, Lorraine, via the website, their phone, their email, for sure. Does anybody else have a yes or no to that question? We'll go down the list.
I think it would all be a yes. I think everybody would be silly to say, no, we don't care, but our students are.
We're all here for the students.
Yes.
It's a priority for everyone.
Thank you. Are there any other questions out there? Certainly, you're welcome. I can give you the mic, or you can. Okay.
That's good then. I have a question on Division 4 or Ward 4. So my question is, in the province, there's 24% of children that live in poverty. What, as trustees, are you going to do to help those 24% children while they're in school? So in other words, how are you going to support the 24% of our students in our division to overcome their poverty and to help them learn? Because poverty, not being fed, not having the time to go to extracurricular activities, things like that. What are you going to do to help those students achieve and succeed?
Thank you for the question. Would anybody like to take that, specifically maybe Ward 4?
I'm not sure if you're aware, but Dugald School used to have a program where they had food available for students, and it would be fantastic if we could see that in all of the schools. So it was something that was available in each of the classrooms, and it was available to all students, so it wasn't singling anybody out. So I think that would be fantastic if we could bring that out to to all of the schools, so that took care of that hunger aspect. I'd also like to see keeping school fees low, finding ways that we'd be able to do that, whether that's your student fees or your school supplies or field trip fees.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a response for that question?
I can take a stab at that one as well.
Okay.
Great question. It was asked earlier, actually, I think yesterday or the day before online, something similar to that. I think what we do is there are breakfast programs already in the school, which is assistance and lunch programs. There's also neighboring or community-based nonprofit agencies that can also assist. So I think what the division can do is look at developing a closer partnership with some of those. So I think the ones I had listed yesterday were like the Kinsman, which is really active in this community. Rotary is another one. Andrew Dunn, the RM as well will pay for some school-related or equipment costs for sports. Some of these nonprofits will also contribute to things like school supplies and that kind of stuff. So great question, and yeah, poverty is a big issue. But yeah, I think it's just, again, networking with some of the existing organizations that are already in Springfield.
Thank you. Evelyn?
Okay, I was just going to add for the providing some food. I think that's a great idea. I think right now, from what I've seen, it's mostly been teachers buying food from their own money. So I would like to see, it would be nice if the division of the schools could help provide some of that food. And also, as far as extracurricular for the schools, most things are or don't cost anything. I know my son plays football for the Sabres, and that does come with a cost, but they've never turned anybody away that can't pay. So there's nothing that would stop anybody from playing these sports already.
Thank you. Would anybody from,
Oh, sorry.
would you like, Karen? Certainly.
I just thought with Ward 4, I'd just finished them up.
Certainly.
I'm going to do it from slightly different angle because, like, one of the questions that we didn't get asked, like, my kind of like thought process relates to this because it was to explore ways like how parents can become more involved involved with the board, improving channels of communication so that you become better informed and gain a better understanding of why and how we make the decisions that we do. And over the last 2 years, we've actually removed like school fees. We've paid for supplies already for like the students. And the one thing that I've always encourage parents is turn up to board meetings, take an interest in our budgetary process, like make us accountable, like ask us questions, ask where like your tax dollars is going, because like at the end of the day it's your money and you need to get involved and ask us questions. We need to involve you in the conversation. And as I said, you need to understand why we make the decisions that we do and where we spend your money. So like make us accountable and get involved in the process so that you have a say on where the money goes and how it helps.
Thank you. Would anybody from Ward 2 or 3 like to take on that?
Just very quickly, I just want to say that one of my last 2 years of my teaching career, I spent up in Centennial School, actually, and another school very close to here. And both schools had a breakfast program called Snack Program, where it didn't matter, all kids could eat if they wished. Centennial School in particular ran a lunch program, as I call it, because I was a counselor at the time, and so I ran the program. And what happened was we would buy food actually from the store in town at a reduced rate, and teachers would make sure when that lunchtime in their classrooms, they would see kids who were not eating or who had a poor lunch, and they would actually send them down to myself, and then I would supplement what they had or give them something if they had nothing. So, and they would have hot dog days. Well, teachers would give us a list of the kids who didn't order hot dog because they didn't have the money. So we would still give them the hot dog as if they had paid. So it is happening in quite a few schools actually throughout the division.
Thank you. Diane?
You're welcome.
Thank you. Just wanted to again say we do have breakfast programs and some food programs already available in schools, and I'm actually disappointed to hear that teachers would have to go and buy food on their own because schools do have a budget, school-based decision-making money that they could utilize for those programs to supplement the teachers and kids in their own school, and I don't feel it should be on teachers to have to buy snacks for kids when the school could provide. Yes, as Karen said, 2 years ago at the start of COVID, lots of people in our community and around lost jobs, went away. It was difficult times, so the board decided to put money towards the school fees to ensure that everybody could show up the first day and have an equalization among students, that everybody got what they needed. And we again did it this year as inflation has gone crazy and still people are struggling. So we were really proud to do that, and I think everyone can see that there was a need for that. School fees, we also had a mandate and to go forward with try to eliminate any school fees in the school that we could. If there was a school trip that, any school trips, if there was families that couldn't afford to go, our schools will pay for those students. And I know that the difficulty is a lot of parents maybe not want to self-identify as needing that, but we are hoping and we rely on teachers and staff there to maybe offer and be mindful of why children are not attending. But if they are not able to, there is monies available, and continue to make sure no kids are missing out on all those opportunities just because of difficulties in their own home. So that has been our board focus as well.
Thank you, Diane. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Oh, geez.
Okay. Peter? You guys have been very good. Everybody's on time. The audience is asking one question.
You're going to give me more than the short time you're giving to pose questions, aren't you?
Nope, we're going to give you one question and keep you on time.
I'm a recently retired counselor here in Springfield. I've resigned early for personal reasons. But I am pleased that the Chamber is posing questions about communication between the two governing bodies here, trustees and council. And I am particularly pleased it's posed also to the council candidates. But I'm impressed with some of the comments I've heard about the issues that the board has with, or potentially has with the council. And there were references to communication or collaboration between the school division and the municipality. Melissa was the first one to say something, and she talked about getting involved with planning. And that is something under the provincial legislation that you must do.
Okay, Peter, I do have to interrupt that we ask for a question, please.
It's
We
coming.
do. Okay, soon, right? Okay.
Absolutely. So I want to, and this will be a question open to all of you. I want to know if you are going to be fighting for the Springfield parents and students, because at the moment you are underrepresented on the school board. You don't have as many representatives who live in Springfield than the current funding from Springfield would warrant.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if that's not clear, but you can always ask for clarification.
I have to keep this on time, and I have to keep this professional, so it sounds like we do have a response.
This has come up over the years as comment, and we talked about social information and things, but so there's 4 trustees out of 9 on the board, and Springfield does provide a bulk of school taxes, but it is not more than half of the school taxes that the school board would receive for education. And the balance is fair representation for dollars across the division with 4 out of 9 positions based on dollar values. We are not providing more than half of the funding for education from Springfield in the Sunrise School Division to warrant an additional trustee position at this time anyways at our current growth or population.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to respond to Peter's question? Certainly.
I think just to add to what Diane said, I think it's important for us to also understand once we're elected, whoever gets elected, we represent the entire division as a whole. We're not specifically to one particular school, even though we're Ward 3, which has a Cole du Gold in it. I, walking or meeting my people in my ward, I have families that have students going to Hazel Ridge School. I'm not technically that school spokesperson. I also have people going to all of the Oakbank schools that live in my area. So having said that, we are so intertwined in all of the people who live in our division as a whole that you could call any single one of us on, not necessarily if you are in my ward, you don't have to call me. You could call any one of the board members to state your concern. So that is something that's important that I think public needs to be more aware of, because I just learned that. So, so that's my addition to it.
Thank you. Would anybody else want to respond to that?
Just one comment. I would just hope that the education across the whole division is equal, that every student in the Sunrise School Division receives the same quality of education.
Thank you. Now, we had a question from over here, and that'll be the last question we take, because we'd like these folks to be able to give a little bit of a closing remark.
Hi. I heard y'all talk a lot about mental health tonight. And I just wanted to find out, anecdotally at least, within my kids all go in Oak Bank, the wait list for access to assessments and specialists within schools are 18 to 24 months. What do you as a trustee think you can do about that? Because that's a really long time to sit and wait and have a kid struggle, and a teacher struggle, and parents struggle, and other kids in the class struggle. What can you do about that?
Thank you. Who would like to respond to the struggle? All right.
Okay, so I know, and Dustin can attest to this, I have firsthand experience with a child that needed assessment. And I feel very, very strongly about most things, but definitely for the advocacy to have those assessments done at the earliest age possible. I know parents don't like to always admit that there's something going on with their child, but I feel like the earliest intervention is the best intervention. So I think working collaboratively with childcare in our areas and being open and honest with those before they even reach school age, I think would be a big benefit for the schools. I know we do the Connect to Learn, I think it's called, where they do assessments for the 4-year-olds that are coming up to the school, but they look about how can they read, can they write, can they do this, can they do that, whereas they're not really, they're like, oh yeah, they can kind of do that, so they're good. But if we had communications with the childcare sector in our areas, we have inside intel on those kids. We would be the first ones to say, you know what, watch for this one, keep an eye on this one. This is what we're struggling with already in childcare. So maybe have somebody extra at those assessments, at those Connect to Learn, so that you can cut down on that wait time and you can get those kids seen before they reach school age and before those the things that all the oh my goodness sake, so the clinicians and stuff already have so much on their plate. They already have that fair warning, they already have that heads up, and hopefully can get in where it needs to be happening.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to respond to that?
I had talked earlier about hub programs, and I would like to see some of the financial resources of the municipality and some financial resources of the school division put into hiring, say, for example, psychologists that home-base themselves out of somewhere in Oak Bank, for example, whether it be in a school or whether it be in a facility, so that we can start to speed up the process of evaluations of these students, because we need it. These kids need it badly. So, I know that the school itself is just, the wait list for school assessment itself is as long, if not longer. When you're talking about one psychologist working over a large area, 3 or 4 schools, they don't have the time to do it. So I think it's time to open the bank a little bit and start spending a little more money, and if it means raising some taxes, so be it. Our taxes really haven't been raised all that much, and we're getting a break again from the government with school taxes. So,
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to respond to that last question?
I'll take a run at that one too, just kind of dovetailing the 2 ideas that had already come to play here. One being with childcare. Lori, that was my answer for number 3. That wasn't asked, which is Gillis and the early year school in Beausejour both have childcare facilities that are attached to the school. I thought that was a great way, again, to have a multi-use facility, easier transition for the kids that are in these daycare facilities. We have one community daycare down the street. It's fantastic, but there's 4 infant spots. So there are more than 4 infants in Oak Bank. So I think that meets a community need. And then with clinical support, I hear what you're saying, Paul, and I like that idea. I think we need to assess our clinicians. Where are they? What are they doing? How many do we need? I heard a lot of talk about mental health supports, that they're being in need, and that especially coming through COVID. Yet I don't feel that the number of, I believe that we had reduced our mental health staffing quotient. And that they've changed the type of programming that they've looked at. So instead of more clinical support, so one-on-one with students that are really struggling, they've gone to a more classroom based learning, which was like Kids in the Know, so a program like that being offered, which I think if you connect with your student services folks, that it's not quite as effective as that one-to-one time that students were getting before. So yeah, it's identifying where the clinicians are, and I'd like to see them dispersed in the school. So sometimes they're at the divisional office, which I guess that's important to connect with the division, but I think, you know, the clientele is the students. So they need to be where their clientele is, and that's in the school. So I'd like to see space within the school. I think there's an extra level of accountability there too. When they're there, they're accessible. So yeah, I think I got it.
Thank you. So at the very beginning, I didn't have you guys step up. Was there somebody else who wanted?
Can I just comment on that?
Certainly.
Sorry. About student services and mental health, I just wanted to clarify that motion I had brought to the board about 2 years ago now was to close down the what they call the Green Church in Beausejour, which had been the clinician's office in Beausejour. That has been closed down and property sold. Clinicians are now have been distributed throughout the division and are in the schools. Right now, they're no longer centrally located as they had been in the past. They are in the schools. We've put them where they belong there. There is always a greater need than available, and it's not just in schools, it's in society in general. The need for mental health supports are risen everywhere, everyone knows, but even in the province in general, there's a shortage of support people. We also, as a school division, do have one of the highest per capita expenditure on our student services. We invest heavily in our student services. It's a large part of our budget, more so than most school divisions in the whole province. Is it enough? No, never enough. We always are trying. And part of that is what you said is about the identifying early needs before kindergarten. We do have a program that's different than the original kindergarten one we had before COVID, but it's a way we identify needs for some of our clinicians in speech language pathology, and we treat children at home before they come to school. They get the help they needed, and we try our best to get kids ready to be successful in school. More money, if we can get the staff, and we are still on track with the same amount of staff that we had before. We had a temporary worker who's back. Thanks.
Thank you. So to end our evening, like I said, I didn't really have you folks come and introduce yourself because I did say that, you know, people can reach out to the Sunrise School Division, but also I think in terms of how this evening went, we got to learn a lot about all of you folks and your passion and your enthusiasm, and we appreciate that. But I would like 1 minute wrap up on why you would like the RM Springfield in your ward to vote for you on October 26th. And we're going to start over here.
I'd like people to give me a chance to go back again and have another term. I felt I did a lot of work at the table. I was chair of the policy committee, chair of the finance committee, and I was voted vice chair by our trustees of the board. And in those roles and on those committees, I was able to delve into the policies and financials of the division. Then there was a COVID thing that happened that really interrupted a lot of the work that we would normally like to get to, and I feel like there's a learning curve, and I'm ready to jump back in and get it done fast. That may have been overlooked during the COVID firefighting mode we were in.
Thank you, and you can use this if you would like.
Wow, why would you vote for me? I don't have the resume of the person sitting beside me because I'd be a brand new person with a new perspective and a new idea. I'm somebody who has strong values and beliefs in my personal beliefs, but I still hold space for individuals who have differing opinions, and I could listen to them and we can figure something out together. So I feel like coming to the table with a idea or a perception or oh, that's fast. That is different than what is currently there is possibly something that's needed right now. And I'm open in communication. It's incredibly important to me. And there's been a lot of talk on here about all these different ideas and everything. It's important to remember that coming up with these ideas is one thing, but until you're actually that person doing it, like we're talking about teachers doing this and that, we don't really know what's happening in that classroom. We're not that person. So we need to have that communication with the front end people, with our connections with the RM business people. We need to talk to them and figure out how it's going to work before we say we're going to do these things. Great ideas, let's pursue them, but let's make it realistic.
Thank you. We're going to go right to you, Lori.
Okay. Ooh. Well, this is a brand new idea to me as well. I've never been on any kind of board such as this. However, I'm part of our community. I kind of introduced myself to the Ward 2 on Facebook and other places, but I've been there. I've been there since I was 6 years old. That's my home. And I feel as a trustee, I'm somebody that the community can see me, they kind of relate to me, and they say, okay, we know her. Let's see where she can go with this. And I bring that voice. I bring the voice of the community to the board. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm hoping for. I can only be as strong as the community that supports me.
Thank you. We're going to go to you, Evelyn.
I know, it was a surprise. Okay, so to vote for me, so I have kids in all levels of school here in Oakbank, so which also means that my kids are in extracurricular activities with a lot of different parents and a lot of different age groups. So I have a son in grade 11, a son in grade 1, and then daughters in grade 8 and grade 5. So we know a lot of families, we know a lot of what the needs are in different age groups and different families. And my career is all in collaboration, and so that's what I do all day is collaborate with different stakeholders in the businesses that I work with. And so I think I would work really well with other trustees and work well with the schools and the parents and the students to be for a benefit for the students.
Thank you. Melissa.
Like Evelyn, I have students in our school division. I also have a child that has graduated. She graduated last year, and I run a home daycare here in town. So I'm kind of uniquely positioned in that I have a child that has completed their public school education. I have children within the school division, and I am helping to shape some of the minds that will be moving up into our school division. I also work with a variety of organizations and volunteer with youth in our communities. So I feel that gives me, or that's helped me to connect with families. So I'm hoping that if there are issues that do arise, that families will feel comfortable in coming and approaching me.
Thank you. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen. I'm currently Ward 4 trustee, and I too have sat on the policy committee for a year with Sunrise. I was policy chair for a year as well, and I sat on the STA as the liaison for 3 years. And I was told recently that the second term of being a trustee is where you come into your own. I admit that when I was elected in 2018, I was like a deer in headlights and green, but I've sat on many boards, and I feel like I could really build on the work and the progress that we've put in over the last 4 years. And obviously COVID has had its challenges, and we just want to build and continue with the progress that we've made so far.
Thank you. Dustin.
Thank you. I'm a community-minded individual. I am just hardwired to connect with people. I require that connection. I love that connection. I also have a history in disability services. So when we talk about student services, I love to hear that input. I love to hear people that have gone through that. I do have a history with policy development and implementation of policy. So though would be new to the school division, I mean, not new to that area of knowledge. I want to shred those cards when we're done here. So I'm very approachable. I'm well versed in the community. I know Courtney, actually our kids dance together, so you know, I mean, I'm just always out there, and I love to be that, and I'd love to be your voice. So thank you.
Thank you. Paul.
Excuse me. I feel it's very important that a board of trustees need members from diverse walks of life, so that varied perspectives are brought to the table to represent all the members of the Sunrise School Division. From my perspective, I have 42 years of teaching, K-12, classroom, and most of it in the Student Services Department. So I feel that I can bring a perspective for a large group of people, from my view, from my experiences, into a Board of Trustees as one of 8 members, right, for the whole division. Thank you.
Thank you. I got everybody, I think, except Lorraine. Yeah.
I was like, wait.
Same question.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber for organizing this evening and to everybody for giving up your time to come out and listen to us. I was a school trustee from 2002 to 2010. I found great pleasure in doing the job. My mom developed severe dementia. My dad wanted to keep her at home, so in 2010 I chose not to run in the election. I knew that I had to try and help him out, so I didn't want any of those shoulda, coulda, woulda. No regrets, but I would like to get back at it. I really enjoyed doing it. Ward 4 is a very busy ward. We have 5 schools in Ward 4 that all need equal representation. One time somebody asked me, how much do I make as a school trustee? And I took 2 months of figuring out how much time I spent doing the work, and I figured I was making a little bit under $5 an hour. So they all want you, they all need you. You're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I loved every minute of it. Got great satisfaction of attending the graduations and reading for the kids and whatever they wanted us to do, it was a great pleasure to do it. So I'd like to have another kick at the can.
Thank you. So, some great information tonight. I think a great group of people. Please help me welcome and thank them for their time tonight. Thank you. Again, thank you very much. And of course, I invite everybody here and all of yourselves to tomorrow's mayoral forum. I think you'll gain a lot of information there. And again, thank the Chamber of Commerce for setting up this forum and the Sunrise School Division for allowing us the SCI location. Thank you again. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.